Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy. What's up, everyone? It's that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday show.
Presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today.
Today, our badass guest is Neal. He served 12 years as a Green Beret, medically retiring from service as a Sergeant First Class. He's the Range Manger at Gritr, located in North Richland Hills, Texas. You can follow Eric on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And to take a deeper dive, go check out Range.GritrSports.com, GritrSports.com, GritrGear.com, and GritrOutdoors.com. Brother, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah, man.
Long time no see, right?
Yeah, to the weekend, yes. Dude, that is a lot of different sites you got. I want to dig into all of those.
Yeah, for sure. We like to have it widespread.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into one of the big things when we do this stuff is, it's about your post-service. What are you doing today? What all that jazz. But really, it's like you go into the special operations. You spend 12 years. You medically retired. The transition is not easy for most guys, and we love to learn from what your transition was like. Was it hard? Was it good? Just dig us in. Start from the transition point where you're leaving service and walk us into where you're at today.
Yeah, I guess the transition is ongoing. You know what I mean? So I couldn't say like it's really ended yet. Right, so I got out basically not on my own terms, which unfortunately a lot of guys have to go through. But your typical routes that you do, contracting, all that. I actually got injured by a surgeon at Womack Army Medical Center, paralyzed my left arm, and so that was really hard to chew on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I can say is you have to have that ability to reinvent yourself, because at least in my situation, I wasn't physically able to go continue and run and gun in a contract, position, or anything like that. And so there was this big, shift in my mindset where it's like, hey, what do I do now? You know what I mean? And I guess I could go back to one of my good buddies who passed away from enemy contact in 2014 during his memorial ceremony. He actually had a letter that he wrote to his fiance, just a really personal letter, and her, or maybe it was his sister, I think it was her, read it out loud to the battalion. And one of the main parts in that was, I think one of his first sentences, being a Green Beret doesn't define me.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, like that's really interesting. Most guys would be like, this is who I am. You know what I mean? I'm a Green Beret, and that's something that you can hang your hat on. And there's no issues with that. I mean, a lot of guys do that, but that really hit something in me. And it kind of goes to, I've had some other mentors that would say, you were the Green Beret before you got it. You know what I mean? It's that mindset, it's that personality. You didn't become something once you donned that headgear.
Right.
Or got that long tab on your arm. You know what I mean? It was always in there. And so I kind of went on an exploratory journey to gain access to that and try and like detach myself from my military experience the best I could, or trying to glean some insight from those experiences and apply that to my new life, So the first thing that I did, just in a practical sense, was go to college, go to school. And there's a whole bunch of programs, like the Honor Foundation is a huge one, really good one. And I didn't even really know about it until I was like already in my master's program. There's like a bunch of soft dudes like doing, I was like, what is this? Like, how come I didn't get it this? But school's big, you know what I mean? Depending on what you're trying to do. And so, yeah, I went hard, went to University of North Texas in Denton. in my military joint service transcript, which everyone gets, it basically applies like your schooling, your military schooling will give you college credits, gave me like 90 credits or something. So I only needed to do, a few semesters to get my bachelor's. That's not what happened because I changed my major like so many different times because I didn't know, which route I wanted to go. So I mean, in all intents and purposes, I knocked that out pretty quick. Did a geographic information science, basically like LiDAR, remote sensing and mapping.
Yep.
We used LiDAR a few times to do like target packages on buildings, and it was just like, I mean, that with like hyperspectral imaging, we could tell like what the doors were made out of, metal or wood. We could tell how deep, little canals were, so we didn't know like, hey, do we need to bring some sort of ladder or anything like that? So it was just really cool, the concept of multi or hyperspectral imaging and LiDAR. So knock that out. Want to do the drone thing. And then I got the opportunity. Well, my cousin, Randall Parks, he's been on a few podcasts. He was MARSOC dude, first sergeant in the Marine Corps, and he got accepted to University of Southern California's Master of Business for Veterans program, which is awesome. It's for retired but active duty senior military leaders and all that. It's basically the MBA curriculum condensed into like an executive MBA timeline. So it's only 11 months long, but it's like every other weekend, all weekend long. And so knocked that out. And then I really had the decision, what do I want to do with my life? And there's still, that big question mark there.
Yeah.
There's the obvious routes, Deloitte, Lockheed Martin, all these, cookie cutter positions. And then I started researching, business and firearms, business and, tactics, and all that. How can I combine my military experience with my education? And Gritr Sports had a job opening for a range manager, and I was like, I definitely don't want to just be on a range all day. That's not fun, especially an indoor range. Like, who wants to do that?
Yeah.
And so I still, just because I was curious, it was like 10 minutes down the road from my house. Drove by it, looked like a big building, So
It's huge.
did the yeah, it's a decent size, about 100,000 square feet, just under. Um, and so did the interview, and one of my big stipulations was, one, I don't want to be in the range all day, and they were like, good, we want marketing, business development, backside stuff to actually grow revenue and grow foot traffic in the range. And then my next one was, I need to be able to operate this indoor range how I want to do it. Indoor ranges are notoriously strict,
Mm.
and they just have all these rules and they apply it to everybody that comes in. It just takes the fun out of shooting for the most part at a lot of indoor ranges, especially around here. And they said, yeah, you can have at it, as long as you're knocking out these few things, like, it's yours.
Wow.
So yeah, well, I can attest, greater in like the event that we just did this weekend, to the ownership and my bosses, Ashley, who you met,
Yeah.
and our three owners for our parent company. They really give me the latitude and leeway to do pretty much what I want, as long as everything's safely done. And there's some good upside there. I got free reign. So yeah, I've been doing this for just over 3 years. My first civilian job, really. Well, I did real estate. I got my real estate license, realtor license. But I'm more of like I mean, I'm sure you could probably tell by now. I like instant satisfaction. You know what I mean? So it's like I was working my ass off, like doing real estate, and then like things would fall through, and I was like, I don't like this. I need something where I can get some pleasure real quick.
For sure.
And yeah, so I've been doing this, and so Gritr, the way I like to explain it to everyone is, yeah, we're an indoor range. We've got an amazing retail space, but we're so much more than that. We're kind of like, for anyone that's seen John Wick, the hotel, the Continental Hotel. You got all these different assassins. You know what I mean? Assassins. Let's change that with private training organizations. You know what I mean? Gritr, we're your spot. It doesn't. We don't go into the drama at all. The facility is yours to use as you see fit. And our capabilities are pretty wild. So the way that, I mean, you've seen it, the way that a range is set up, We do 4 to 5 competitive matches in here per month. So IDPA, USPSA, we're the most active indoor, or really range period as far as matches go, outdoor or indoor in the entire Metroplex. We can get vehicles in there. And then the event center is not too shabby as all, so we can get 150 person max capacity inside. And yeah, so the facility is used for awesome events like Black Ops, which we just had this last weekend, and a roaring success, thanks
Yes.
to yours truly there, Ryan,
Yeah.
and a number of guys that helped facilitate it, and women. So yeah, it's just a once over the world on Gritr, and what we're able to do.
Dude, it's amazing. Going back to your injury, how are you doing now with that injury?
Yeah, so I just had an MRI, 2 MRIs. What was it, about a month ago? So I've had a bunch of residual stuff happen. So they had a brachial plexus nerve graft surgery. It basically opened me up all the way across my chest to repair my nerves, and my pec detached at post operation. So I've had a torn pectoral muscle for the last 6 years or so. And one big reason why I haven't got that fixed is because, as you know, I got 3 very young daughters, 5 and under. I'll be slinged up for, I think it's like 2.5 months, and I want to hold my kids,
Yeah.
So I just decided, they're getting a little bit older now, and it's like, there's not going to be a good time to do this. I think maybe I've been kind of like pushing it off, and so we're going to knock that out here pretty soon. But I do have movement to my arm. Mainly, it's my forearm muscle that's controlling all that. But it's been tough, man. It definitely put me into some depression and all that, because you can't work out really. I mean, you can, but it's really hard to motivate yourself with the instability, and really just the aesthetics of it was one of the hard things. I don't really consider myself a guy that's very vain,
Mm.
but I like to look at myself in the mirror at the gym.
Yeah, for
You know what I
sure.
mean? And when you see like the deformation and all that, it's really a motivation killer. But just recently, I've been going to the gym a lot more because I need to build some muscle. Because if I'm slinged up, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
shrink up. But yeah, it's been a tough one to deal with.
We can help you with that. So after this, I'm going to connect you with some docs, and you need to get in touch with Transcend because they have some
Yeah.
amazing products that can help with rehabilitating and healing.
Hmm.
So we'll talk on offline on that.
Cool,
So,
man.
I mean, when you were saying that, you do all these things, which I want to break down, but Gritr is insane. I mean, you it's proven that you have the latitude to do what you do because the event that we just hosted there is absolutely insane. I don't know another place in the country that say, yeah, let's do that here. I mean, you opened the doors to us and let us do so much. We did shooting and paintball shooting in your warehouse, and we basically took over the whole place. Now, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, this is not your typical go to your local gun range, walk inside, talk to the clerk who's typing on a typewriter and smoking a cigarette. And this is full send. It's like an old Home Depot that they converted into a massive range, e-commerce, giant storage warehouse. They've got a rock climbing wall. They've got multiple rooms to do podcasts and video rooms, and they have a huge classroom and multiple ranges. I mean, this place is out of control. And then, of course, just walking out on the floor and seeing all the weapons and all that gear. I mean, it is like REI for your shooter, for your hunter. It really is such a massive, cool place. So, I mean, there is
Yeah, and
nothing like it.
Yeah, and even more, I guess, what gives us that flexibility is, the range and retail space are great, but it's not really needed to keep the lights on. Our e-commerce arm from our parent company, Webby Corp, really it's about 90% of our revenue. So we represent 1,250 brands online right now, mainly through Amazon, but like Beretta, anything that you're getting from Bread on Amazon's coming from us. We're exclusive with them. Victos, we're top 5 Hollis dealer in the country. We do 6 hours, website listing optimization. We're one of 2 6-hour elite dealers in Texas. And so that kind of allows us to focus on long-term relationships instead of, trying to gain the revenue we need right now to keep the lights on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we can focus on, hey, what's going to help our partners right now, because ultimately, in the long run, like, it's going to help us too. And there's just not a lot of facilities that have the financial flexibility to allow, big events like this to go down, especially at the price points that we like to keep them at. And yeah, man, yeah, I appreciate you plugging it like that.
Oh, for sure. Do you guys focus on tactical and law enforcement, or do you focus on both that and the hunter civilian side of the house? Like, what's your aim there?
Yeah, so we're kind of evolving right now. We were very heavy into the hunting industry. Like, we were one of the first ones to sell Sitka hunting gear, and we still have a big presence, a huge presence in that industry. However, the retail space itself, and Gritr, as we're forming, kind of getting rid of the sports, and all the different channels. It's more tactical shooting sports. We support multiple PDs around the area, and a ton of level threes, the big ones, Securitas, Allied, all that. So our customer demographic is more aligned, I think, now with the tactical and sport shooting side. But those also have a kind of mold over into the hunting realm. So, our owners are in Africa a lot hunting, and it's a passion of ours, the hunting, side of things. So that's not going to go anywhere.
Okay, that's cool. Let's dig in because you guys are really pushing on this one now. GritterGear.com.
hmm
So talk to me about the Gritter Gear.
Yeah, so I mean, Gritr Gear is our take on a lot of products. We're big into holsters right now. I mean, obviously, there's like a natural progression once you're just starting to do your own private label, products. The easy ones, are the low hanging fruit, are your holsters, belts, knives, all that stuff. So we've been manufacturing those, or at least partnering up with some awesome manufacturers to get those out over the last few years. And we're doing great, year over year, huge revenue increases and presence increases on Amazon and all of our different websites. But the holsters themselves, I'm actually in our media room right now, and you've been through there, our little research and development area where we got our 3D printers and scanners. And what we like to do is we want to make a product specifically with our holster that's about to drop, where it's one holster that can fit them all, basically. So you can put G code attachments on these things, ALS attachments on them, multiple light configurations. So you don't need to have a different holster for, all your different accessories that you're going to put on it. So that one, knee pads. I mean, you can check out grittergear.com and kind of go through the list there. And yeah, we're proud of the products, and we're constantly trying to find better manufacturing within NATO aligned countries in the United States to just bring a better product, all in all, for the quality control standpoint here for our customers.
When's that holster dropping?
I'll have to talk to Tyson, but I would say here in the next couple months, we're going to try and get it before this busy season, but the busy season is here.
Yeah.
But we'll be at SHOT Show here coming up in a few months, and we're going to talk to our partners and make sure that our products are aligned with their product drops, and and go through the bureaucracy of it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Let's talk about your staff because I was blown away to see how everybody just worked so symbiotic. They take direction from you, and they were just crushing it, which means that you are leading the charge really well, man. So, what do you do for your staff? How do you choose your staff, and give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, so the range team itself, we really have it broken up into two different categories. We've got the retail space, which is actually a whole different DBA. Then the range is its own doing business as well. But I've had my guys for years. They're all certified instructors. I teach them myself as much as I can, typically monthly. So they're going through all the same shooting and professional development stuff that SF guys go through. So they're getting stellar training. And the turnover longevity of my employees is like unheard of. Most ranges, guys are, leaving constantly, right? So I just treat them like big boys. It's like, hey, right time, right place, right uniform, and making sure that our customers are having a safe and fun time. Safe and fun. I preach that all the time. A lot of ranges, when you go to it, you got that guy up front that is, less than welcoming, and has got like some chip on his shoulder and he's got something to prove.
Yeah.
If they show that at all, they're done. We just don't have time for it. People need to come here and feel welcomed, at all walks of life, especially the new shooter,
Yeah.
because there's an intimidation factor with people going over to ranges, and we got to get rid of that. And so we want to make sure that we're as welcoming as possible. And the guys are super reliable, dependable. And I've got a few of them that live an hour away from here, and I ask them to come in early every day, and they haven't been late in like years.
Dude,
So,
it's clear as day. I mean, not just that, but their characters too. You've got one that's got Viking hair that's slicked all the way back. You got
yeah,
another one that's
Bucky.
got that mustache that seems to move when he's not talking, and it's just this is. I could not believe how there was not. We worked our asses off during this event. It was an entire weekend, constant, and it was 7 a.m. to what 1 in the morning, constant, and not one complaint. Just go, go, go. I got that. I got that. I got that. So that was
hmm
really cool. You're right.
Yeah, if you go on the Range.Gritr Sports website, there's a about us or range team page, and I've got all my instructors' bios on there, and you can kind of see who they are and all that. I'm really proud of them. And we also like to make sure that they're being paid fairly, right? So our commission structure is lucrative, and it's based off of how much that they want to make. We don't have any quotas for anything like that. But like memberships that you sell all the way to the retail space gun sales to our, insurance partners, and then our litigation or legal partners. So there's plenty of opportunities for them to make, hundreds more dollars per month, just depending on how hard they want to work.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. What do you do in the classroom? What are some of the classes that you teach? What kind of instructions do you have going down?
All of it. We just partnered with Concealed Coalition to take over our license to carry classes, which is cool, and it's kind of what all the ranges do. But we got everything from your basic pistol all the way up to no light, night vision CQB in the shoot house. And what I like to focus on is bringing other companies in to teach their courses. Obviously, we have our own curriculum, and we care about that, providing a great product to our customers. But I really want this to be the place where, I mean, right in the middle of DFW, you've got hundreds of small business, private training organizations that teach really good stuff. They don't have a place to do it, or they're getting charged an arm and a leg, to go to all these ranges, and then they're not treated fairly, or they're treated like their courses are secondary to, the courses that are provided at the range. And I do not like that. And that's not how we run things here. So we give free classroom space to a lot of small businesses so they can get their product up and running and the curriculum that they're teaching. And that allows me to focus on my more advanced classes. So CQB, critical marksmanship skills with the pistol, following into transitions with the rifle, all that, which is more of the caliber of my instructors. I wouldn't say I don't want them doing basic pistols because we do those a lot, but I just feel like they have more to offer to the community than that. So if I can bring other companies in to do the basic pistols, LTCs, and all that, we can focus on the higher tier level, I guess, for lack of a better word, training.
It's badass, man. You got a lot going on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig into that future stuff. So obviously, you're really pushing on Gritr gear. What do you see the future, the near future? Where do you want to be? What do people not know about Gritr right now? Where are you going?
Right. So the big thing that me and all the other managers in the company still can't stand is people will come in, they'll walk into the space and be like, "Man, we didn't know you guys existed. I lived down the road and didn't know you were here." I was like, "I don't know how you can miss us. We're 100,000 square feet on the in a main intersection of the city." But since we were an e-com company for so long, like the marketing efforts and trying to really generate foot traffic into our space hasn't really been like a main priority or focus up until maybe 2.5, 3 years ago.
Okay.
We're very metric focused, and advertising is really tough to know what your return on ad spend is, especially with like a billboard or your traditional advertising. It's kind of just like throwing money out there and hoping that it works.
Yeah.
And so we've been going through basically all the routes just to make the public aware that we're here. we're proud of our product, we're proud of our employees, and we're proud of the experience that you're going to have here. And so that's my main focus, is just getting awareness out that we're here for you through your whole entire journey. And maybe it's the first time you've ever touched a pistol, or maybe you're a ex, SEAL or Green Beret, and you need a spot to train, and somebody to just keep you up to standard. We do that.
That's awesome, man. Speaking of training and what you have to offer as far as shooting, pistol, rifle, do you do semi-automatic, fully automatic? I mean, what is the range of stuff that you allow in your range?
Yeah, so we don't have any fully autos yet to rent.
Okay.
We've got a few different companies around here that do that already. I'm of the mindset where we need to specialize on something and have our own niche. And so I try not to step on the toes of the other ranges around us. But anything really, you can bring your full autos in, just schedule it with the training coordinator, go on to our other range that the public isn't on, because we obviously don't want you going full auto with like a 80-year-old lady or like some kids next to you and freaking them out. But we're pretty flexible with anything. The range is rated to 50 BMG. We try and keep the muzzle energy, the guns to 3,500 and below. But if you're a member here and we know that you're safe, you can pretty much do whatever you want in the range, and you can rent that whole right side out. Go forward of the line specifically is what we like to do. Not a lot of rangers allow that, but yeah. And then we're completely customizable as well. So if there's not anything that we're providing, on our website as far as courses go, just call me up or call my training coordinator and say, hey, this is what I would like to do. And we'll actually help you build that program of instruction and build that course out and conduct it with you.
So, can anybody just walk in off the streets that doesn't have a felony, or do you have to be a member?
No, no, anyone can come in. We've got our membership tier levels from like $30 a month all the way up to $100 a month, and you get a myriad of perks and benefits based off of those. But yeah, anyone can come in here at any skill level. The youngest age is 10 years old. And beyond that, you're good to go. We actually love to do that. Like I was saying earlier, having that first time shooter come in, those are some of the best clients to have, because you get to really build that first impression with the firearm industry. And if you're a good guy and you're making it safe and fun, like, you're going to get return customers every time. So it's really cool to see that.
That is awesome, man. Well, it showed this weekend too. I mean, we had some first-time shooters there. I was not there on the
We
range, but
did.
I had heard, and some of them were a little sketched and skeptical, and started warming them up, and then they started shooting, and that's just it,
Mhm.
warming them up the right way, teaching them that the gun's not going to do anything you don't want it to do. You're in control. It's nice. So it's been awesome, man. It was an incredible experience doing the event, but just to see how you run the operation, to see all that you offer. I mean, you have humongous, humongous warehouse, and you've even grown that too. You have another place, right?
Yeah, so we got warehouse 2 that is currently being outfitted with our robotics. So that will be specifically for non-firearm related items and smaller packaging for the binning system in there. And the robots that we're using are kind of like Roombas, and they'll pick up the shelf and bring it to the packer instead of our pickers and packers walking to each product. So as far as efficiency goes, it's way better. And yeah, we're really excited to get that thing up and running. As you can tell, it's a lot of coordination with that piece. So we've got our warehouse managers and the Webby Corp staff on that constantly.
Dude, so cool, man. So much stuff. We're going to get all this stuff out so that people can get in touch with you, so they can see everything that you have to offer. And for those of you watching, definitely, if you're in Texas, go visit. If you're coming and travel to Texas, make it a priority to make it part of your trip, because it is not your typical range. This place, you need to just walk in and see it for yourself, and then go indulge in the things that they have. So make sure to make that point. Flipping the script on you a little bit here, because
Mhm.
gets into the more personal side of stuff. Um, why'd you want to be a Green Beret?
Man, I didn't.
Perfect.
So I actually joined in 2006, and like most kids, I didn't really have a plan. and felt like I was kind of being left behind by my friends going off to college. And I had most of the males in my family played professional baseball, and I really felt like I had something to prove. And I remember I was watching some battle on CNN, and like live footage of these guys like just getting it, over there. And I remember thinking like these guys are my age, like they're doing something like powerful and legacy producing. And it kind of clicked. I mean, I'd always played guns and watched all the movies, Navy SEALs, that movie had a big
Oh
impact
yeah,
on
we're
me.
well aware of that
Specific
movie.
specifically like the 5 minute long free fall scene.
That's true.
um and so I was always super fascinated with it. And my mom, as soon as I was talking about joining, she was like, yeah, this makes total sense. But I just joined up as airborne infantry. Felt like that was the quick way to get in there. And then in basic training, they actually offered me the option to go RIP, or I think it's called RAS now, to go to Ranger Battalion,
Yep.
or transition to 18 X-ray to go straight to the SF pipeline. And SF to me, they were like, untouchable. And at this time, there wasn't like that many books about it, so I didn't have a lot, to go off of. And so I was like, yeah, Ranger Battalion seems a little bit more achievable for me. And my drill sergeant, my senior drill sergeant at the time, was like, listen, go SF, And I was like, sure, just tell me where to go, tell me where to sign, let's do it. And yeah, so right after basic, I transitioned 18 X-ray and went straight to Bragg. And went to selection in October 2006, and really that was it. I spent an ungodly amount of time in the Q course due to a myriad of different reasons, like a swine flu outbreak, language school, just absolute horror story. So I spent about 3 years in the Q course,
Oh
just
my
training up and
gosh.
waiting. It was brutal because the whole time you're like, is the war going to be over? And all the instructors are leaving. They're like, you're going to miss it, and we'd get so pissed.
No wonder why you got a bachelor's getting out of the service from all that time at the schoolhouse.
Oh my God, I know, man. Yeah, so it was horrendous, but all in all, there were some really good reasons, why that happened. And in retrospect, if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have been where I was. And so I ended up finally getting into third battalion, third special forces group on ODA 3333. Initially spent a few years on that team, and the friendships and the experiences that we were able to have there are unbelievable. And I couldn't even think of my life going a different route or being in a different group or battalion or anything like that. I was able to do some really amazing stuff.
That's awesome, dude. Any of those guys from that battalion out? Your buddies, your close buddies?
Oh yeah, most all of them are out now. There's a couple hanging on, but they're sergeant major and above now. So doing the desk, right on the desk, and all that. But yeah, our generation of guys has kind of done their purpose, and they're out of the service now and doing really awesome stuff. So
Sounds like we need to get those guys in to be part of Black Ops next year.
well, yeah, absolutely. A few of them have already reached out, so we'll make sure we make that happen.
It's fun to do this event, and it's funner to do this event with your homies.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, man. When I was talking to some buddies about it, and especially my staff, some of my instructors are got or they're going to SFRE to become Green Berets or National Guard guys, and I was like, listen, this is an opportunity here to see like a legit like military train up. I mean, my last year, I was the N2IC of basically all the training for our headquarters support company, our direct support guys. And so I'd run ranges, and set up scenarios and all that. But this is like way bigger than anything we would do like at third group. It's like multi-target hits, miles away from each other with helos. It was really cool. So
Yeah.
the customers or the VIPs and clients that got to take part in this, I don't know if they realize like the caliber of an event, and how much coordination it took to get this going. So yeah, hopefully they realize it.
No, they actually thought that it went seamlessly, and they're like, "Wow, you guys didn't seem to have that many complications." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the way we keep it." Yeah,
Yeah.
behind the scenes, you pull back that curtain and you'll shut it quickly. You'll realize.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. See where the sauce, how the sausage is made.
One thing that people might not know is what is an 18 X-ray?
Yeah, so an 18 X-ray is they call it an SF baby, right? So for many, many years, Special Forces kind of sets itself apart because most guys on an operational detachment alpha or an A team, a Special Forces team, are older and more experienced. So on most teams, it's all E6s and E7s. And then your leadership is an E8 and then a captain. And that's pretty unique in the special operations community. So an 18 X-ray is essentially someone that comes off of the streets as a civilian, has a fire hose, to drink out of. And if they can apply themselves properly, keep their mouth shut, and obviously be a sponge and accept criticism and fall into a team and not stand out so much that you're going to get your shit thrown into a hallway, you're going to do good. And so it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but I guess in a sense that it is. Some older SF guys, they do not like the 18 X-ray program. They feel like 18 X-rays didn't like earn their keep or get the proper experience, in order to become an SF guy, because our mission is so much more than just direct action.
Mm-hmm.
There's a maturity level that has to be there when you're speaking at an embassy or briefing up, battle space owners, or just going off by yourself to go conduct, some sketchy ass missions. And so on the other hand, though, the 18 X-ray brings a outside the box mentality. So like in our culminating exercise in Robin Sage, I had a bunch of Ranger Battalion guys there, and we had to take out like a communications tower or something. They had, 7-8, Ranger handbook, like we're going to flank left, all this stuff. And I was like, why don't we just get like two dudes, one with an AT4 and one with a saw, and we'll just eat this thing up from like 300 yards out and then just get out of here. And the instructor was like, okay, that's what we're going to do. So thinking outside the box mentality, and 18 X-rays typically come from a completely different walk of life. So they've got civilian experience in other areas, financial, cybersecurity, technical, mechanical, and all that. Which, like, if you've been in the service since you were 19 and you're a prior service guy that is now on an ODA, sometimes all you've done your whole life is like infantry stuff and all that. So you don't really have I wouldn't say, for everybody, but you don't have that like breadth of knowledge when it comes to applying, different ideas to a mission planning process.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, that's a lot like that same way I went in. We don't have a name for it. Just, yeah, I think it was called a seaman when I went in. So it's like way worse. That why would never change that name is beyond me. It's just gross.
Did you ever hear about the Navy guy that came in with the last name Guzzler?
Here we
I
go.
don't know why. I don't know why the recruiter let him sign on the dotted line, but
we had a guy who had the name spelled DOR, and that's what you have to say when you want to quit is drop on request. And they kept saying, "Hey, say your name," and he's like, it's so funny.
Not doing it.
It's interesting how we have such different training pipelines, and yet they're so unique. Like we have our Hell Week, which is extraordinarily brutal, and then we have our dive phase, and then you guys have Robin Sage, and that's just such an incredible final mission plan that the entire city gets behind, and you have
counties.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's unreal. I mean, hats off on that. You guys far exceed us in that final mission planning. That's nuts. Always like to end on this one, man. Tell us a hero story, somebody that influenced you in your life, somebody that you want to honor, a story that maybe nobody knows, or at least most don't know.
Huh. There's a lot. I would say, the first person that comes to mind when you brought that up, though, is an amazing individual who just got out. His name is Chuck Ritter, Sergeant Major Chuck Ritter with 3rd Special Forces Group. And he was really the first guy when I got to my ODA. I think he was either the senior Bravo or transitioning to our 18 Fox, which is our intelligence sergeant. And he would like quiz me. He knew how difficult it was to be an X-ray coming in, and really wanted to get me up to speed. So he would quiz me constantly and really took me under his wing and befriended me, and like was an amazing mentor. And this dude, you should have him on. I'll link you guys up. He's been shot multiple times on multiple different deployments, blown up. Our last deployment together in 2014, he was running off an Mi-17 helicopter flown by Afghans. It was, once we heard that American birds weren't going to get used, we're like, oh God. Yeah, so multiple times. But he's an absolutely stellar individual and has shown courage under fire in so many instances that you just can't pick one. But people can look him up and find him online, Chuck Ritter. But he's my opinion of what a Green Beret should be. Is always able to laugh out any situation, but when it comes to doctrine, there is nobody better. Like, he knows his stuff. So if I were to say, hey, what is someone to ask me, what's the Green Beret to emulate? It's Chuck Ritter. So yeah, look him up. He's got a bunch of stuff going on with multiple nonprofit organizations, and is starting a small little writing career right now. But just everyone from any of the communities, one thing, I'll just bring it back to this experience that we had. The type of, I hate the term, operators, but for lack of a better word, the caliber of guys that were involved in this Black Ops event really reminded me of how important the community is, and keeping stuff like this going on. The VIPs and clients had a great time, but I had an amazing time. I had an amazing time just hanging out with you in particular and all these other guys, because I don't get a chance to do that often.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, like, hey, I need to make sure to stay connected, with all these guys. And we don't have to talk about, combat, all the time. And that's not, that defining, factor in us. And we can make really cool stuff happen for all the right reasons. And yeah, man. Yeah, I think that would be how I want to kind of encapsulate this whole experience and the podcast for sure. I appreciate knowing you and everything we've been able to do together.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and then now team up with you and bring in the different sides, having not just the Navy SEAL ideas, but having Green Berets. And I was telling Roby, every time I do something when it comes to mission planning, I always bring in Green Berets to do it. It's true. It's so true. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
there's the target, there's the building. We go smash through the door. Let's go. And you guys are so much detail oriented on how to actually make this thing work in such a surgical manner. So it has been awesome. I mean, and then there's funny stories. Like, I don't remember a time when team guys get together and we talk about missions. We have talk about the hilarious and the chaos and the funny stuff. And like that one guy who had a butt breach at Gritr.
Yeah, dude.
And everybody's coming out crying, laughing. And I'm like, what happened?
Me and Tyler were dying when we saw that. I've been on, probably a couple hundred ops, and I've never seen that happen before. We were like, wow. Very impressive.
For the audience, explain that butt breach real quick.
Yeah, so me and an NSW cadre were walking down this hall, and so we had like a team stacked up in the hallway, and I'm sure as soon as some videos drop, you'll be able to see what we're talking about here. There's like this double door, and this guy's like, all right, you ready? Like, I'm going to open up the door, and he literally turns around backwards, runs backwards, and smashes the door open with his ass. And then everyone like flows in after him, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. So that's definitely thinking outside the box there. So good on him for that.
Oh God! Hopefully we can get that video and we can post it in there.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Well, thanks, man, for what you've done for this country. You said that you didn't want to become a Green Beret, and it's not something that you don't want to do, and then you show up and then you just kind of cruise your way through. Like, you found some fire. I mean, obviously you were a shooter growing up and you loved playing soldier and that, so that had some lead into it, but you dedicated yourself when you got there to do this, because nobody just walks through the program in any special operations community and then to go do the job for 12 years and would have continued on through a whole career all the way, and God knows how long. And what you're doing today for the communities, I know that Gritr and you give a ton to the community, to North Richland Hills, to the police department's fire service, to the city. Because I could see that when they were coming in to work with us, they were just showing their love and support for you. So that's awesome, man. And we're going to get all this information out and we're going to blast it. And again, if you haven't checked out Gritr and you live in Texas, you must make it a point to come here. if you are traveling in town, make it a point on your travel itinerary to stop in and meet with Eric and just see the shop. And you can purchase gear online anytime you want. So go check him out. Websites will be up right after this. And brother, thank you for being on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Can't wait to do something else. Start planning.
Oh, God, let's take a break for a sec.
Thanks, brother.
Anytime, bro. Later, man.
Frogman Friday.